Hello guys, I'm going to take a break from the Prussia videos and go to different subject. Today's video is about the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki and the Japanese surrender during World War II. I am going to talk about the Manhattan Project and the bombings, so let's get to it. Germany, 1938, was under the rule of the Nazi regime, one of the most infamous regimes in all of history. But Nazi Germany was one that had one of the most important discoveries in all of world history, with the discovery of nuclear fission. Germans soon started Operation Providence, which was their nuclear development program to weaponize nuclear fission, but was later cancelled by Hitler as he saw it as Jew science. Truman would later say, "We may be grateful for Providence that didn't work." On October 9th, 1941, President Roosevelt approved the Manhattan Project, which was a project with the goal of weaponizing nuclear fission. The reason why he approved the project, because he and many others were worried about the German developing atomic bombs first. Most scientists in the Manhattan Project were refugees from fascist regimes. Over the next couple of years, the Manhattan Project developed uranium-235 and plutonium. These are the key materials for creating nuclear fission. The materials were sent to Los Alamos, New Mexico, and turned into a bomb. Over the course, they tried to weaponize it, and until on July 16, 1945, the Manhattan Project had its first test. The name of the test was the Trinity test. The bomb was tested at Almagargo in New Mexico. The test was very successful. This was the first nuclear explosion that ever happened. The mushroom cloud went 40,000 feet in the air. This test led to one of the biggest revolutions in modern warfare. This was the first time in human history where we had the ability to destroy ourselves on a global scale. The scientists in Los Alamos developed two types of bombs. One was called Fat Man, the other was called Little Boy. To understand why we dropped the bomb on Japan, you have to understand Japan at the time. They were in truly nationalistic mindset, and Japan gets a pass for a lot of their actions during the war, which is very undeserved, but they were truly evil and just as bad as the Nazis. One of the worst and most tragic events was the massacre of Nanking, or the rape of Nanking, they're called either one. And Nanking, 300,000 people were killed. These were all civilians. Well, not all, but very, very high percentage were civilians. They were killed in every way possible, from getting beheaded in games where two Japanese soldiers would compete and see who could behead the most, the quickest. And some were even forced to drink kerosene, then shot, causing an explosion. And up to 20,000 and 80,000 women got raped, hence the name Rape of Nanking. It got so bad that in Nanking that John Rabe, the Nazi Party representative to Nanking, had established a safety zone in Nanking. And he went around telling the Japanese they are not allowed to do it. The war crimes. You know it's bad when the Nazis seems like the reasonable one. The Nazis and the Japanese were allied, but then John found them as enemies going around, stopping them, as I mentioned before. He has every reason to stand their good sides, and every reason to write about them like they're friends, but he writes about them as they were devils, which they really were. The general overseeing of the war crimes was Prince Asaka. He was in the royal family, but he got off with not even slapping the wrist after the Treaty of San Francisco, since all of the royal family got immunity. In late July of 1945, the USA put forward the Potsdam Declaration, which ordered the surrender of all Japanese forces. The ultimatum said if Japan did not surrender, then Japan would be faced with prompt and utter destruction. The prompt and utter destruction means Japan would get nuked, but Japan did not know at the time because they didn't even know what atomic bombs are. They made it clear they were not going to surrender, and they were going to fight to the bitter end just like the Germans. They knew they could not win the war, but at least they could put up a fight and persuade the Americans to not invade the homeland, hopefully for selling a peace argument that was more on their terms. Douglas MacArthur and many other high-ranking generals wanted to continue the bombardment of Japan, followed by a full-out naval invasion of the mainland. This plan would be given the codename Downfall, Operation Downfall. Truman did not want an invasion of Japan because he thought there could be up to 1 million American casualties, but it's not likely it would have been 1 million American casualties. Anywhere from like 200,000, 400,000 is more plausible, but nonetheless there would be a lot of dead. There would be a lot more dead Japanese, well, one, because we're fighting on their mainland, and also they have a tendency to never surrender. And they will sacrifice themselves for the homeland no matter the cost. For example, in the Battle of Ottu, in May 1934, U.S. forces fought in the Battle of Ottu. At the end of the battle, there were 2,350 Japanese garrison, but at the end, there's only 29 left. Those 29s were the only surrendered. That is a fatality rate of 98.8%, but without Truman's support of Operation Downfall, luckily that did not happen, and lives were spared. Instead, on August 6, 1945, the first atomic bomb to ever been dropped on a hostile city was used. That bomb killed 20,000 soldiers and 80,000 civilians on impact. The bomb was named Little Boy. Little Boy was dropped out of a modified B-29 plane. This destroyed 5 miles of Hiroshima. The bomb dropping on Hiroshima was one of the most influential events in world history. It would take 16 hours from when the bomb dropped for the government officials in Tokyo to hear about the bomb destroying Hiroshima. It was in the evening of August the 7th that Hirohito decided it was impossible to continue the war. Little did he know, waiting 3 days would cost him another city and the Soviet invasion of Manchuria. On August the 5th, the Soviet ambassador to Japan denounced the Non-Aggression Pact. Then on August the 9th, 2 minutes after midnight, the Soviet Union invaded Japan-controlled Manchuria. Manchuria was controlled by Japan through a puppet state. The puppet state was called Manchukuo. 4 hours later, Tokyo got the declaration of war from Russia. This was a situation that went from horrible to dreadful. I don't know how the Japanese could have foreseen the end of their empire turning this gruesome. It got even worse when the same day Nagasaki got bombed. On August 9th, Nagasaki was not the main target of the bomb, but because of weather, it ended up being the main target that U.S. selected. The target was Kokura, but since there were clouds, it made it more harm to precisely aim the bomb. Nagasaki got bombed instead. Something as simple as the abundance of cloud in the sky made thousands of people in Kokura live, and thousands of people in Nagasaki died. 40,000 people in Nagasaki died. Only a couple hundred were soldiers. The bomb type that was used on Nagasaki was called Fat Man. Because of the valley formation around the land of Nagasaki, it was much less damaged than Hiroshima. Hiroshima had been completely devastated with 5 miles, while the bomb at Nagasaki only destroyed 2.3 miles. Just before midnight on August 9th, Hirohito and the World Council agreed that Japan would accept the Potsdam Declaration. And remember, the Potsdam Declaration was the term of surrender from the Japanese to Americans. Even though the Potsdam Declaration did not compromise with the Japanese, but Japan was in such a horrible state, they had no choice but to comply. On August 10th, the Japanese released the message to the U.S. On August 12th, the U.S. answered back and compromised even less than before, and saying that the authority of the empire and the emperor should be handed over to the Allied Supreme Commander. The Allied Supreme Commander was the U.S.'s General Douglas MacArthur. After some heated debate and an attempted military coup in Japan, Hirohito got on the radio and, for the first time, admitted to the people the surrender of Japan to China, Great Britain, the United States of America, and the Soviet Union. This was the unofficial surrender, but it would end as a ceasefire between the U.S. and Japan. But the proper surrender did not take place until September 2nd, 1945, aboard the USS Missouri, when the Japanese Prime Minister made his signature to the treaty for surrendering. He was sobbing and crying. On September 2nd, 1945, the world could take a breath and sigh of relief as mankind made out the most devastating war in human history. This war killed over 85 million people. This war would always leave scars on the earth. This war that would always be remembered. Okay guys, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.